Hello, welcome to this special hangout here live from the University of London Union. I'm here with Jeremy Gilley, founder of Peace One Day. Jeremy, you've been doing a special announcement today. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, well, thank you, Miguel. Yes, today we have launched the Global Truce 2012 student campaign. Peace One Day created a day of peace, a day of ceasefire and non-violence, the 21st of September. That is the world's day of peace. We then proved that day could work in Afghanistan, and it was a great success. And as a consequence of that work, with UNICEF and WHO and other agencies, 1.4 million children were vaccinated against polio in the first time we attempted it in 2007. In 2008, the UN announced a 70% decrease in violence on Peace Day. So the day saves lives, but the UN announced a 70% decrease in violence in Afghanistan on the Day of Peace. That was an extraordinary figure. And that's what gave us the idea to say, well, if you can decrease violence by 70% in a very complex place like Afghanistan, can you decrease violence globally? And that is what Global Truce is all about. It's about seeing whether on the 21st of September 2012 we can see a decrease in violence globally. Now the leverage to making that possible is you watching this hangout. It's the individuals, because if the individuals unite and come together as one on the 21st of September 2012, that's the leverage that will make governments follow. So the opportunity of great success is ours. Now, the one demographic that's the most interesting to talk to is of course the youth. It's the students of our world. If anyone's going to lead the way, then how fitting it would be if the students did that. So we were very pleased. You can see Liam Burns, the president of the National Union of Students, to my left. We were delighted to team up with Liam and the National Union of Students, where Liam will tell you more about what he's doing with the 7 million students of the UK. And that then led on to an idea of saying, well, could we involve the students of the world? And Peace One Day has flown in the student representatives from every continent of the world. And I'm now going to pass over. We'll start with Liam, where you can hear from the students themselves or young people themselves about this coalition that we have formed. We are about to see the greatest gathering of individuals in the name of peace ever recorded on the 21st of September 2012. Please be a part of it, and let's get some real inspiration from some of the people that are here today. Liam.
Oh, sorry. Before we go to Liam, just let me welcome all of those who are actually joining from different parts of the world. We can see you there. We know that you're eager to make some questions, to start talking to us. But first, let me introduce Liam, so he can tell us a bit more of what's going on and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And let me say hi to you guys. Can you guys wave? Because this is really cool for us. We've never seen this before. Yeah, hi. Yeah, my name's Liam. I'm president of the National Union of Students here in the UK. And Jeremy came to speak to our conference just over a year ago now. And when our members heard the message of what Peace One Day was trying to do, they were genuinely really excited and thought that in their unions, in their local colleges and universities, this could be something that students could get really excited about and make a real tangible difference, whether that be locally or indeed internationally. Since then, we've spoke with Jeremy a lot. We have committed to mobilising our 7 million members, that they get involved in the 21st of September 2012 and showing that they support the idea of Peace One Day. And we're also launching a Global Student Leaders Summit. So for the week before the 21st, we'll be bringing student leaders from across the world to London to discuss things like access to education, sustainability and development in our society and what role students can play, and of course the concept of peace and what you guys, being the leaders of tomorrow, can contribute towards achieving that.
Well, let's carry on, and we're going to go one by one, because I mean, these people are absolutely amazing who are assembled here in front of you, and then of course, as Miguel said, we'll listen to you. But let's go for it. Why don't you say your name and the organisation you're from, and why you think it's going to work?
Hello. Hey everyone there. My name is Karina. I'm from the European Students' Union. I'm Vice Chairperson of the European Students' Union, which is an organization for 45 national unions in 39 countries all around Europe. And you know the history of Europe and also the landscape. It has been going through lots of conflicts and transformations. This is why at some point students came together and said, this is enough. We want alternative way of resolving these conflicts, and we want to put our hands and our heads into this. And this was also expressed by our membership, and this is why we are here. It's just good to get this inspiration, to get this idea from elsewhere in the world, and just to feel that we are not alone, and that we can continue our communication also with you and among us, and outreaching even more people now using technologies, for example. So indeed, looking forward also seeing you acting on 21st of September, and seeing also all us putting our hands for the Global Student Summit to happen, to discuss these crucial issues for young people, and I believe for all society, but also seeing the Peace One Day and the global truth being a success.
Greetings from Sri Lanka. My name is Prashant Deviza. I'm coming from Colombo, Sri Lanka, involved with a youth movement called Sri Lanka Unites, where we work on post-war reconciliation, led by youth for the entire nation. And we just want to thank all of you who are joining us for your interest and your desire to get involved. I think it's very important that we go beyond rhetoric and young people start leading the way. One thing we understand is our older generation has been so engrossed in their hatred that it's been difficult for them to perceive peace and perceive reconciliation and conflict transformation. And so what we're trying to do is, after 30 years of war, making sure that the youth can lead the way. And not just in Sri Lanka, we've got interest from many countries that are having conflicts right now, or at the risk of having conflicts, coming together and trying to come up with best practices as to how youth can be not just part of the solution, but leading the solution. So thank you for willing to join us on the 21st of September. We in South Asia, along with our colleagues around the world, are very passionate about it, and we're eager to see change.
Thanks, and first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers here of Peace One Day. I think it's been an amazing day and an amazing event here at the end, with representation from across the Atlantic on screen. I'm Yannick Dupont from a Dutch non-profit organization, Spark. We are working with student movements in 12 conflict states or post-conflict states, where we're supporting work that these movements and the universities are doing in terms of development, democratization, but also things like reconciliation and mediation. And we'll be gearing up our networks in places like Kosovo, Libya, South Sudan, Liberia, Palestine, to get youth on board on this important day, 21 of September. We'll try to organize some events that day in these locations that are linking up to this great effort. And I think, as Jeremy was saying, it is also our experience that the youth actually in these locations play an amazing role. And I think that's what we've been seeing with the Arab revolutions, where also the social media had a very important role. I think it's good to mention that actually your head of Google in Egypt was playing a very key role in the revolution there, very key role. And it was actually the social media that was targeted by all these regimes that tried to shut it down. So I think that the combination of targeting youth, working with social media around the world, is going to be a winning one. Thank you.
My name is Donera Walmsley, and I'm the president of the National Union of Students in Australia. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for organising all of this. I think students have historically been at the forefront of leading movements to make the world a better place. I think we've seen that with the protests against the Vietnam War we had in Australia, and uniting in solidarity with our comrades across the globe, for example, in South Africa against the apartheid movement there. And I think that it's time that we come together and actually have a really ambitious goal, the goal of world peace. It's something that gets talked about a lot, but the amazing thing that Peace One Day has actually done is making a tangible difference. I think that's the most incredible thing that I've seen, the difference that you guys have made in Afghanistan. You've shown that it's actually really possible for us as students to actually participate in a movement that shapes real change. And I hope that through the Peace One Day movement that we can actually have a global truce day this year and eventually move towards a world without violence. I think this is a phenomenal thing to be a part of, and I'm so glad you're all here as well. So hopefully together we can make a better world.
Hello, what's up to everyone? Thanks very much for tuning in, and to all the people who are tuning in who waved. My name is Sizwe Mpofu Walsh. I'm a young South African student and representing a whole host of organizations from South Africa and from Africa, the most relevant of which I suppose here would be the Wake Up Call, which is a campaign that's just happened on the 21st of February, which brought together over 30,000 young people in 83 different countries on one day of action. And I think Peace One Day, following on from that, is showing how transnational action across borders is evolving, is mutating, is becoming more intelligent, more aware. We've seen the Arab Spring, we've seen the Occupy movements, and I think as young people it's our responsibility to continue that generation of making sure that transnational action can happen. And what better day to do that on than Peace Day, the 21st of September. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with you, joining with you, and letting the older generations realize how powerful our generation actually is. So let's do it.
Good morning, United States. My name is Josh Konarst. I'm a student at Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin, located in the United States. It's a great honor to be here this morning with all these incredible individuals, and I'm so glad that all of you have joined us this morning. Speaking from the United States, I am so excited to get to work with everyone. We're going to get this movement across the United States, into colleges, universities, and we're going to work on bringing peace. And on September 21st, we're going to have the Global Truce movement, and I just can't wait to see it all come together. Unity is peace, and we certainly can do that as part of the United States. We've shown it before. We can come together, and we're going to do it on September 21st. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm the leader of the Student Peace Prize, and we're from Norway. We give a Student Peace Prize on behalf of all Norwegian students, but it is an international prize, so anyone can nominate a student who promotes peace and human rights. And I'm very grateful to be here with all these student leaders that makes a difference in all of their regions. And I'm very grateful to be here to speak with all of you tuning in, and I want to say that it's important that we put the light on students still working in the dark. We have a lot of students working in conflicts, and we need to put the light on them, and we need to focus on students. But as Jeremy said, we need also to focus on how the individual can start in the small parts. How can you make a difference? And I think that's important as well. So let's start mobilizing and start supporting global truce.
So very good afternoon, everybody. This is Ravi Aral from Asia Pacific Youth and Student Association. I'm over here as a representative of half of the population of Asia and Pacific region, because it consists half of the population of the globe. So it is remarkable that the Peace One Day has a good initiative on the walk of the peace, and we know that the students are the most vulnerable people in the world in terms of the peace. So we have been working or advocating lots of the issues in relation with the students, but this is the first time or the most exemplary works which we have been working by sitting globally and expressing our solidarity for the peace, how we can work better. We know that there is a saying that we can think globally and act locally. In the same way, the efforts of all of us and you individual will be the remarkable one. So I have got a loud call, let's work together for the peace, especially for the students who are the future of the tomorrow, so that the future will be a safe haven. So thank you so much, especially for the 21st September, which even the United Nations has adopted unanimously as the Peace Day. Thank you so much.
Buenos días a los hermanos mexicanos que nos miran en este momento. Mi nombre es Mateus, yo soy de la Organización Continental Latinoamericana y Caribeña de Estudiantes y represento la organización en esta reunión. Bon.
My name is Mateus, for everyone who doesn't speak Spanish. And I'm representing the Continental Organization for Students of Latin America and the Caribbean.
Bom, a OCLAI é a organização que representa os estudantes da América Latina e o Caribe e é uma organização que tem a sua história marcada pela defesa de um mundo sem uma unipolaridade no mundo, ou seja, a defesa de um mundo multipolar, onde se possam respeitar as diferenças, onde cada povo possa ter o direito de definir sobre o seu futuro, possa ter o direito da sua soberania e que o nosso mundo possa ser um mundo onde as pessoas possam viver em paz, onde as pessoas possam ter trabalho digno, onde possam ter educação gratuita, enfim, um mundo muito mais pacífico, um mundo muito mais igual, com, enfim, valorização da vida e do ser humano.
Oakley was founded on the basis of a multipolar world, a world where everyone has their own saying, has the right to freedom, to find their own way, for nations to be sovereign, and for people to be able to have freedom of speech and to come and go.
That's so amazing. I think that the only word that can describe it is I'm feeling inspired by you guys. I was at the press conference, I was able to hear everything that you guys were doing, and if all the youth of the world can actually follow your example and realize that you guys are really the strength behind it, who can actually make it happen in September 21st, and if we're able to talk to all of those people who might be following this Hangout, plus all the people that will make sure that hear about this, we really can expect a lot of things in September 21st. Your thoughts, Jeremy?
Well, no, I mean, I think the thought is it's it's a collaboration. I mean, it's not about I or it's about us, and that's what's really exciting is that when you create a coalition like this, a group of people who are very committed to a united world, to bringing our world together as a sign that we can do things differently, then that's where it's at. There's strength in numbers, and I just want to reiterate that the leverage of our world stopping is in our hands. I mean, it's just got to be the thing that needs to be repeated all the time because it's just where it's at. If the students of the world came together as one, then things would change big time. And that's an incredible thought. And then that goes on to just sort of saying, well, Google is an enabler of that. I mean, here we are, in London, but now you've taken it, you're giving us a platform for the world. So, the sort of social media technology, the phone saver being kind of like a lightsaber of the 21st century, I mean, that's just where it's at. Technology is going to and is playing a profound role in sort of a lift in the level of consciousness around the fundamental issues that we face. So, great for you guys for doing this, and great for us for all being here, and together, we can do great things. So, that's a thought for you.
So, should we put it to the test and see if technology is up to it? Let's start, and I now will rely on the console to help us out. Can we get Diego Morales from Mexico? Diego, are you there? I think that we're on mute. Ahora sí, Diego, ¿estás por ahí? Diego? ¿Quieren que pasamos con alguien más para poder hacer la prueba? ¿Erika Lovera?
No.
Hola.
How are you?
Fine.
I'm Gilley.
You had a question for us, Erika?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just was wondering how has social media work gonna help us, like they help Egypt getting united so they can make the war, make the revolution. How do you think it's gonna be positive for peace?
Repetirnos lo último, por favor.
That how do you think that social network like Facebook, Twitter, and here Google Plus is gonna help to create peace purposes? Like unite people from all over the world and things that were not possible before, that we're here right now. I'm in Mexico and you're in London, so it's wonderful, you know?
A question for you guys. How does technology and social networks can actually make us get together and start joining efforts in this effort towards peace? Who wants to answer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess the real power in social media and the technology we now have is, I guess, that the idea of identities based on borders starts to fall apart. So you can be on Twitter and have a common cause and share ideas and opinions in a way that is not hampered by physical locality. And that's really important, because with physical locality, I guess, comes lots of baggage and presumptions and assumptions about other people. And once they start to melt away in the virtual environment, then really exciting and creative ideas can come out of that. That's my attempt at a sophisticated answer. I guess the crude reality is the mass participation element. You can reach so many people so easily with a common message in a way that we've just never managed before. So I think the opportunities for campaigning in a way of virtual space is massive.
Bom, eu acredito que as novas tecnologias elas podem trazer benefícios de duas formas. Quer traduzir?
That new technology can bring two kinds of benefits.
A primeira, no ponto de vista da democratização da comunicação. Ou seja, hoje, talvez grande parte da juventude se informa pela internet e pelas redes, pelo Facebook.
The first one is that is the democratization of information, that everyone can learn and find about, various things, over the internet, Facebook.
E a outra é do ponto de vista da organização da juventude. Hoje, com essas novas tecnologias, trazem para a juventude também novas formas de se mobilizar. Ou seja, você ainda tem a mobilização tradicional, como o que a gente gosta de fazer muito, que é conferências, passeatas, mas também hoje uma ação no Twitter ou no Facebook também é uma forma de exercer pressão, é uma forma de mobilização da juventude do século XXI, né?
And the second benefit is the youth mobilization. You can still have the usual forms, such as holding a conference and marching down the streets, but there's as much pressure these days if you go on Twitter or Facebook and you fill it with posts and your ideas.
Should we try Diego Morales from Mexico?
Yes, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor. And it's great to see all those students making things and trying to make a change. And maybe for Jeremy, I wanted to ask, how do you think the youth of a country or a country itself can work towards peace while its government declares a war in its own territory, meaning like against organized crime, but it's still very obvious that it's a war?
Thank you for that question, and yeah, great that you're talking to us from Mexico. Thanks so much, man. I think the question, for me, I keep it really simple. We kept it simple from the very beginning. We wanted to create their peace, we wanted to climb that mountain, and we weren't concerned whether we failed or succeeded. We just wanted to try, and we tried, and of course the day was created. And then with Afghanistan, the cynics were saying it could never work in Afghanistan. The Taliban won't stop it, nobody will be involved. And of course everybody was involved, and it was a great success. And I think therefore the young people of any country which they happen to be in, yours included, must not get bogged down in the politics, in the idea that it's not possible because something's going on. That's just disabling and disempowering. I think what we need to do is not judge and not blame and not ridicule. We need to remain impartial, and we need to remain sensitive to everybody's views. But we as individuals can act, and we must as individuals act. And nobody should be threatened by our actions. And so this isn't about politics or religion. This is about global unity. This is about intercultural cooperation. So I would say to the young people of your country, or anybody listening, then 21st of September is your opportunity to be involved in the peace process. And that shouldn't feel threatening to anybody else. And if we want change to happen, we have to come together. It was Ambassador Brahimi that said to me, who is a great conflict resolution figure, he said to me, if you want this to work, then that you need to reach the youth, the students. You need to go on social media. You need to get the people mobilized, because when the people mobilized, things will change. So I believe that directly answers your question. In terms of what's going on, where you are, for us to move things forward, we have to engage. If we sit on the sofa expecting government to do it, they're not going to do it if we don't do it. We've got to get involved.
Great. Thanks, Diego. I now go to Parker Leotot from the UK.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. So I wanted to ask about the less developed countries, or more unstable countries. What kind of problems would you maybe predict in countries that are less well connected, that are a little bit more divided, and harder to access young people? People are harder to connect to each other. Are there any challenges that you foresee in these kinds of countries?
Thanks very much. Hi, Parker. I think particularly in Africa, where we've seen where internet penetration rates are much lower than in, for example, Western Europe or perhaps in North America, there's still a great chance for the internet to be a catalyst for movement. So what we're seeing now with a number of countries in Africa, perhaps also Latin America, is while it's slightly harder to mobilize on the internet, most community leaders who are tapped into important networks are still active. They get the information from the internet and then pass it onto their networks which are on the ground. And I think with the Wake Up Call campaign, for example, that I know you were also involved in, we were able to do that on the African continent. And I think on Peace Day, we need to focus on doing that too. Thank you.
First of all, I'm encouraged a question like that coming from the UK, from the West, intrigued and wondering what about rural world, and representing South Asia and Sri Lanka especially. That's a problem that we do have, but we have to find out proactive methods to engage the rural communities. So what we've done is we've found that have shipping containers which we've converted into areas where students can come in and use laptops and internet dongles, and they can use it for a certain amount of hours every week. So it's not an excuse anymore. We take it to them so that they have the opportunity to communicate. At the same time, sometimes because of social media, some of our activity begins with social media and stays at social media. It's important that we go beyond our urban areas, especially in the developing world. Sometimes you could have a large following of urban youth getting involved. The richer kids are more westernized, have had education opportunities in other parts of the world. But if you really want to see impact, it's important that you go to the grassroots as well. And if social media or the access to internet is what's keeping them away from getting involved, our movements need to be proactive in making sure it's available for them. And our movements go beyond social media and deal with the tangible issues and get everybody involved if we want to see sustainable, grassroots, long-term change.
Michael Teo from Malaysia, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi, can you get closer to the mic, please?
Okay. Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, better.
Fantastic. How are you guys doing with everything as well? Well, my question is, after organizing what Sizway and Parker have been involved in the wake-up call in Asia, I find that there may be a lot of concerns with young people in Asia to organize things that may contradict with policies that have been set by the establishment. For example, when we have approached the media houses here to actually promote more awareness on actually calling for governments to react on a certain action or to improve on something, some of them have shown hesitance because it was going against the establishment. And this has been drilled into the minds of many young people who we have tried to approach to organize something similar to like Peace One Day. So in your views as a panel right there, what would you advise these youth? Because for them in their minds, if they do anything like a gathering or a campaign, they may be viewed as being against the establishment and they may put them at risk. So what's your view about this?
I can answer that, but it's very interesting in relation to where you are. Yeah, I mean, well, the question is, if there is a, tell me if I'm right, if people gather in some situations, there could be a threat in relation to them doing so. That's correct?
That way, by some countries getting at least on the experience of how they become.
Okay, so I mean, I think that every situation and every place is different, and I think that if there is a risk of somebody being hurt as a consequence of their actions for a more peaceful world, then it would be sensible for them to consider the way in which they approached their commitment to the Day of Peace. And the wonderful thing that we are talking here is you can embrace the Day of Peace with your family, by yourself, in your school, in your university, in your place of work. And I would suggest in those situations, then those are the ways to which to embrace the day. I think people should put their safety first, but should join the call for a day of global ceasefire and non-violence. And then, unfortunately, because social media exists, you can join the Facebook community, you can sign the membership at peaceoneday.org, you can follow on Twitter, you can organize a meetup. I mean, there's lots of ways for you to be able to be a part of it in a situation where you might not be able to be a part of it. And I would say that that's probably the smartest way of going about it. People should take care. It doesn't mean that they can't acknowledge the day, because you can do it by yourself. Because if all of us were doing it by ourselves, that in itself would create a more peaceful world. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on that?
So I know in most parts of the world, and especially in our part of the world, at times we have issues with you're putting your life on the line. And sometimes you're really passionate about the cause and you're very exuberant about it, all this youthful energy coming in. But it's important that we find proactive ways that is not divisive. And if the ultimate goal is to have a day of peace, it is not about trying to make somebody annoyed against what we're doing, but trying to find creative ways that make them feel like they want to get involved. And if they want to be opposed to it, when they hear themselves out of why they're opposed to it, that they will stop themselves and censor themselves, because it's difficult. And we can be creative in that way. And especially as youth movements, it's not trying to rebel against the parents' generation. It's trying to bring another perspective with the due respect, especially from our cultural backgrounds. We do respect our parents' generation extremely well, and we do that exceedingly well. And at the same time, with that respect, we show new ways. And there are creative ways of doing it. And where there is a will for that, there is obviously a way, and I truly believe that.
I mean, I think that, a wonderful wise man, Ray Anderson, if you watch the film The Day After Peace, which is the movie that follows the whole journey of the last 12 years, but Ray Anderson said to me when I talked to him about working with specific corporations, he said to me, you've got to be in the room. You've got to be in the room. And if you're in the room, then you can affect the supply chain, you can get the workforce involved, you can put finance in the right places. And I think that that's what this is all about. Nobody should feel threatened. Everybody should be welcome. It's not about what you did yesterday, it's about what you're willing to do today. And if we maintain that, then we really are moving forward. And that's what this is about. Nobody should feel threatened. Nobody should be made to be right or wrong. It's a day of peace. Let's all embrace it, and let's do that together.
So, thanks Malaysia. We go to the US with Erin Schroed.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
And I think I was watching the video, the group there, we spoke about people, the naysayers, to say it's just one day, what about after that? And I would love to get the perspective of the Sudanese in the panel. What do you say to people who say, one day, what difference can that make? And how do we maintain action beyond continuing our really polarizing that specific to?
Is if we don't have one day, we'll never have two. And I think that this is what this is all about. We all want 365 days of peace. But unless we start with one, we're never going to have any more. And that's what this is about. It's very simple. When you climb to the top of the mountain and you see 364 other mountains, the view is so beautiful, you want to climb the next one. And that's what's going on here. We are climbing the mountain of unity, of global unity. Our world has never come together as one, separate from politics and religion, ever. And this generation, starting today, is about to change that. And social media is going to play a role in that. That's one answer to your question. And I think for you, for me, and for everyone in this room, that's exactly what we want to be doing. We have got to unite. That is crucial, you know, and that is what the United Nations is all about. And we can achieve that together. I think the second point to your question is that lives are saved on the day. What is the point of one day? Well, if your child got a polio vaccination that day, you'd say that that day was the most important day in your life. And if your child in school had a starting point for their actions for a more peaceful world by realizing their visions and their passions and their creativity for a more peaceful world because they've got a starting point for their action, then that's what it's all about. We need to give tools to young people to become future peacemakers. And a day of peace is what provides that opportunity. So the answer is varied. I could go on for a long time. I'd love to, but I won't. I think hopefully I've answered the question. Does anybody else want to join in on that?
Yeah, Jeremy, maybe, if I may, yeah, we work in all these places which are quite isolated. So places like Burundi or Gaza. And I think what is really inspiring about this day is that it's important that young people in places that are isolated, who sometimes feel hopeless, get inspiration from other locations where they're fighting for the same cause. And what really strikes me is especially the power which emanates from movement in one location spreading to the next. I think the Arab revolutions have actually shown that. You know, it started in Tunisia with a poor boy burning himself, the little shop owner, and this sparked a big movement across the Arab world. So I think it's very important that we start somewhere, that we start with a day, that we start with a movement which will not only have an effect on the day itself, but which will inspire people around the world. And now in all the places we work, even in Burundi, the seventh less developed country in the world, if I'm correct, there is internet. And people are watching what's happening. So I think it's really our mandate, it's our vision to, I think, enlighten people around the globe, unite them, and give them hope, even in places where there is none.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it's about putting peace back on the agenda. You know, I think in Australia we're very fortunate. War doesn't affect us directly. You know, in the US you don't have wars on your soil, but both of our countries are involved in all these wars overseas, and it's just become a way of life and an accepted fact that we're involved in all these conflicts, and no one seems to have a problem with that anymore. And I think it's about building a movement that says, well, hey, actually, peace is something that we're still striving for. Peace is something that we, as citizens of a global community, actually care about. So I think that Peace One Day, even though it is, you know, just one day where we all stand up and say, this is what we want to see, is incredibly important, because it's about showing our governments that we don't want to continue engaging in wars. We don't want to be perpetuating violence anymore. We want to see a world that is free of conflict across the globe.
Great. So we go back to Mexico. Mario Quintanilla.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. You were given some numbers about the reduction of violence in Afghanistan, and they're truly impressive. But my question is, how did you manage to engage the Taliban into observing the global truce? Because I find it a little hard to believe that transnational criminal organizations would have any incentive to be part of the global truce. And if they actually take part in it, it would be a great difference everywhere in the world.
So is it, sorry, it's difficult to hear you, but we did hear you. Is your question, how did we manage to engage everybody in Afghanistan? Was that your question?
Yes, including the Taliban.
Yes. Okay, well, I mean, the answer... Firstly, I mean, I'll give you a brief answer in the sake of time, but the other way is to look at the film The Day After Peace, which is free online. I'm delighted to say, and I know Miguel are happy, it's on YouTube. So please, check it out, and it does tell the story in more detail. But the answer to your question is, we went over with a belief that it was possible. Jude Law came with me. I had an invitation from UNICEF. They wanted to see it work. UNAMA, who were working locally on the ground for the UN, wanted to support it. WHO wanted to support it. We met with elders, we met with doctors, we met with nurses, we held press conferences, we went into schools, we met with ISAF, we met with NATO, we met with civil society, we met everybody that it was possible to meet who was involved in what is going on in Afghanistan, and said to everybody that the 21st of September is coming. It is an opportunity for us to stop, for everybody to stop, and therefore the polio vaccination could be delivered to young people who can't get it because the conflict is going on. There were incredible, courageous people who desperately tried to make that work. And I'm obviously delighted and respectful to UNICEF, WHO, and others, because eventually the Mujahideen wrote a letter saying, okay, we won't harm any vaccinators, we won't kidnap, etc. And as a consequence of that, UNICEF, WHO, and other agencies were able to take 10,000 vaccinators into areas you couldn't normally go. So the moral of the story, the message of the story was, we spoke to everybody, and that's what's going on today. If we want the equivalent of Afghanistan to happen, then we as a group, including yourself and anybody who else might be watching, has to speak to your friends, your family, your work colleagues, your students, your schools, your community, and say the 21st of September is coming. What are you going to do? Visit peaceoneday.org, sign up, join the Facebook community. We've got to get to come together as one. And if we do, what some people suggest is impossible is possible. Cynicism kills, and we have to move through it.
Great. And we go to Andres Vela, again from Mexico. Andres?
Not there.
Hola? Seems we lost it. So, just continuing and trying to wrap up, Jeremy. One day, you made it clear why just one day. Yep. We've been talking about what individuals can do. We've been talking about what groups of individuals will do. What's your message? What would you say to them to start moving, those following in Mexico, wherever they are? What final message would you leave them?
I think the final message is, and everybody said it today, we know why we want to do this. We know that we as the individuals of the world are the leverage for change, for the governments of our world to follow our wishes. And that is the key message. And then I'd finally like to say, look, visit peaceoneday.org, find out information on our student section of our site, listen to the words of Liam Burns and indeed others. Visit the Peace One Day Facebook community, become a part of it, check out the YouTube channel. just find out information. But remember, I mean, it sounds like it becomes, in saying that, it's about us. It is not about Peace One Day. It is about you. It is about your unions, your universities, your school. You know, create your own coalitions. But do tell us what you're doing, because the one thing that is most important to me is that we decentralize this. You said to me earlier, let's decentralize this. Let's all be involved in it. But do tell POD what you're doing, because what we want to do is stand up on the 21st of September with Elton John and indeed others from central London and announce to the world the incredible events that have taken place because of people that are sitting here and indeed yourself. That's the message.
Great. So you now have the page in Google+. You guys have the tool available. This will be just the first of many Hangouts. We'll be trying to do one every 21st of each month. So keep posted. We'll be telling you what the subjects, what we'll be discussing. But guys, I mean, whether you're in Sri Lanka, you're in Mexico, you're in the US, wherever you are, use the tool. Let us know how we can help. One of the things that we want to do is enable you to achieve this great goal.
Well, thank you very much. And I can tell you that on the 21st of March next month, it'll all be about domestic violence, because this is not just about the fighting between countries, this is about the fighting in our homes as well. And we'll be tackling that with some of the leading women from every continent of the world, so please do tune in. But thanks again to all of you here for coming from all over the world, you know, and thank you, Liam and the NUS, for really believing in this in the beginning, because if you hadn't, then this wouldn't have happened. So thanks a lot, Liam.
Guys, any last words? Anyone? So, thank you very much. This is the first one of many. Yeah, right. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.